Welcome to this Pay It Forward talk through Life Coach University. I'm Nancy Sawyer, and this is the Compass Club. I'm so glad you're here today. I'm going to just get myself settled for a minute. So Life Coach University is a great platform that has gathered together coaches from all over the world. And we come and we give Pay It Forward talks to share what we've learned, share our knowledge, to coach in many different ways. And all we ask in return is that you pay it forward somehow in whatever way works for you. You can go out into the world today and pay for someone's coffee, give them a smile, send a compliment, thank someone for something, whatever works for you. Figure out the way that you want to do it. So I thank you all for showing up today and for joining in, and let's get started. So I am going to use some notes today. I hope that's okay. I'm going to just change this out for a second. Thank you for your patience with me while I get the technology going here. And I want to let you know that there is a chat box and there is a Q&A box, but I'm just going to be using the chat box today. So if you have comments, if you have questions, please put them in the chat and I will check that periodically. I will be asking for your feedback and for your comments and questions. So please do participate as much as you want to. So I am Nancy Sawyer. I'm an intentional living coach. I help women to embrace their authenticity and step into a life that is aligned with their values. Kind of help them step off the hamster wheel, stop living for everybody else and start living for themselves. I do offer one-on-one coaching, and I teach a course called Your Guide to Intentional Living, which really does focus on living with intention every day and making choices that honor you and honor your inner compass. I'm also founder and facilitator of the Compass Club, which is like a book club, but with no books. It's a group of women supporting each other, encouraging each other in growth. We meet weekly on Zoom. It's a safe space to learn and grow and encourage each other. And we work on becoming the star in our own movie rather than an extra in everybody else's movie. So if that's interesting to you, I hope that you'll check me out. I will give you the information at the end of this talk on how to reach me, and would love to have you take a look at the Compass Club. So I'm really glad you all showed up today for you. I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about self-care. I want to point out that if you see me looking around, sometimes I look up or look around to sort of gather my thoughts. So I want to thank you for allowing me to be me in this space as I'm showing up and giving you 100% of me for you. So when we talk about self-care, I am a very strong proponent of self-care. Self-care is not all mani-pedis and massages. It's not going out to gossip with the girls and have too many glasses of wine. It's not going out shopping and spending money that you don't have on things you don't need. If you are here, that means that you're self-aware and personal growth is important to you. So self-care for you is going to look a little bit different, right? It might mean taking time to sit with yourself and journal. It might mean taking time to meditate. It might be taking time for reflection or for planning. It might be putting up some boundaries. It might be dedicating time to identify your values and reflect on if the life you're living is in alignment with those values. Self-care is also looking closely at your patterns and your behaviors and acknowledging when you need to step up and make changes. And this is part of what writing yourself a new story is about. Self-care is also having the courage to ask for help and allowing others to help you as you're making changes to your life. It might be going into therapy or meeting with a counselor. It might be hiring a coach. It might be reaching out to a friend who's known you for eons and who can help you identify your patterns and recognize them. Whatever it may be, time working on yourself is never time wasted. An added benefit to focusing on yourself is that everyone around you gets a better version of you. Self-care is a gift. It's a gift not just for yourself, but also for others. So I like to say personal growth is the new self-care. So I'm so glad that you all showed up today for you. Thank you. All right, so let me just see here. I just want to pay attention to the chat. Okay, so just again, in case you just joined, I'm going to be using the chat. So if you have comments or questions, please put them in the chat. So I'll look there for comments. Thank you. So let's get started about writing yourself a new story. I think it all begins with talking about your relationship to yourself. Your relationship to yourself is the most important one you're ever going to have in your life. It's the longest relationship you're ever going to have. It's the most intimate one you're ever going to have. You are definitely the person you relate to the most. And how you relate to yourself defines how you relate to everybody else, everyone around you. And that's why we're going to examine this. What is this story and this narrative? So when we have our brains, right? Our brain is a tool, but it's antiquated. Evolution of our brain has not kept pace with the fast pace of how society has developed. So our brain wants to keep us stuck. It likes familiar patterns, and it wants to keep us safe, which means do the same thing over and over because we know what's going to happen, right? So it's our job to evolve ourselves, right? This is why we're here. This is why you're here, because you want to grow and you want to learn. And we understand that we have to take control of the direction of our life. So thank you for being here. And someone commented, yes, I love that. Personal growth is the new self-care, 100%. So as we're talking about how to write yourself a new story, the question comes up, why would you need to do this? Well, the answer is because if you have a negative mindset or limiting beliefs swirling around in your head, then writing yourself a new story can be one of the tools that can help you lead a more fulfilling life. It can help push you through the things that are holding you back. And it's important to notice, to acknowledge that how you talk to yourself matters. It matters because it becomes your reality. You've heard of the self-fulfilling prophecy and how our thoughts determine our reality. Let's think about this for a minute. We want to be honest, right? We don't want to be liars. So when we have a story in our head, we choose behaviors that fulfill and validate that story. So let me give you an example. If the story in my head says, I'm always late, I may choose to do just one more thing before I head out the door. I've been guilty of this a lot of times. I have 10 minutes before I have to leave and I say, oh, I'm just going to empty the dishwasher and clean the sink. But that ends up taking 15 minutes and then I'm 5 minutes late. Or sometimes I run out the door and I forget to grab my water bottle on my way to exercise class. So I have to turn around and come back. Sometimes I take a wrong turn on the way to the meeting. So I ask you, do you think all of these things are unrelated? I think not. So let's take a deep breath while I share with you a quote that changed my life. It is from Marianne Williamson, And it says, let go of the story in your head so the universe can write you a new one. I came across this quote a few years ago when I was in a very dark place. And it started me thinking about letting go of the stories in my head that I had carried with me through my whole life. And I worked very hard at letting go, and I understood that I needed to let go of the stories I carried around. And through that, I also realized that I had to become an active participant in my life and take control of the future. And so while I fully trust in the universe and believe that it is here to serve me and with me, I realized that I needed to write myself a new story with the universe as my co-writer. We're in it together. So the stories in our head, where do they come from? So it's a combination of things. It's a combination of our childhood upbringing, our parents, our religion, our education. It is marketing messaging that is everywhere. Movies, TV, Netflix, on the advertisements on billboards and magazines, the pop-ups on your computer when you're on the internet, right? There's messaging everywhere telling us how we should look, how we should feel, what we should be doing, what products we should have, right? And this all gets bombarded at us day after day. The story in your head also can be thought patterns that arose when you were in a bad relationship, or if you had an abusive upbringing, if you experienced trauma in any way. These thoughts can become limiting beliefs that are on a constant loop in our head. It's the broken record we hear all day long, right? So there are studies out there, depending on the one you read, there are different numbers, but human beings have between 60,000 and 90,000 thoughts each day. And of those, 80% of them are negative. That's a high number. The other piece of that is 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had yesterday. It's the continuous loop, right? The broken record in your head. So how do we stop the broken record? And how do we write ourselves a new story? I'm just going to take a break, and there's a comment here. Yes, it's the longest relationship that I will have in my life. Yes, the relationship with yourself is the longest relationship you'll ever have. People will come and go, but guess who's always there? Always going to be there from the beginning to the end. Yes. And, you know, it says, I have been in a relationship with myself for so long where I put myself down. I would not create this kind of relationship with others. That is a great point. And this is what we have to pay attention to with the story in our head. Would you ever talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself? If you heard your teenage daughter or son talking to themselves the way you talk to yourself in your head, it might affect you as a very protective parent comes up, right? So this is important to notice as we stop, pay attention to what our story is. So that's step one of writing yourself a new story. You have to identify the thoughts that make up your current story. Stop the autopilot and listen to the voice. You actually have to listen to it as an outsider. So you'll want to grab a notebook or a notepad, maybe something to carry around in your pocket, and start writing down the negative thoughts that come up throughout your day. What pops up when you're about to do something, when you're about to go somewhere, when you wake up in the morning, before you go to bed at night, when your spouse comes home, when you are preparing dinner, what comes up? A lot of these are negative self-beliefs that are showing up. The judgments of ourselves. And so they might start with, I am, I always, I never. They can be self-deprecating thoughts like, I'm not good enough. They can be victim type thoughts. No one understands me. I always lose. There are thoughts that come up about our behaviors. I always overcook the pasta. I always stay up too late. There are even thoughts about how you feel. I'm always tired. I just feel blah. There are thoughts about our shortcomings. My jokes are terrible. I'm not pretty enough to have a boyfriend. I'm not organized enough to get that promotion. What thoughts are coming up for you? Feel free to share them in the chat if you have any that you want to share. So step one is to identify the thoughts and write them down. I invite you to write your limiting beliefs in the chat if you're comfortable to do that, okay? So step two, after you've identified these limiting beliefs, get clear about the life that you want. How clear are you on what you want your life to look like? What behaviors do you want to see from yourself? How do you want to see yourself respond to challenges? How do you want to show up every day to life? And what does your day-to-day look like in your ideal life? Get very clear on what your ideal version of you looks like. That's step two. So for step three, I want you to think about the life that you're currently living. What are the things that you need to change? What are the habits that need to be modified or dropped completely? What are the behaviors that you see in yourself that you don't like? Do you blow up at your kids every time you come home from work and there are dishes in the sink? What things do you do that you'd like to change? And now I want to ask you, does the story in your head align with the life that you're living currently? Notice where there are differences between how you want to live and what you are actually living. So what do you tell yourself? Do you tell yourself, I'm struggling with X or Y or Z? Do you say, I'm terrible at managing money? I'm no good at relationships. I just can't keep the weight off. No one will ever love me. Maybe you say, I talk too much. I'm not good enough. I'm probably going to lose this job. I'm a terrible mother. It never works out for me. What you tell yourself all day long creates your life. It colors how you view everything. It determines whether you see a challenge or an opportunity. It determines whether you see an impossibly long to-do list that you could never get done, or a list of amazing opportunities to share your gifts. It determines whether you see a sink full of dishes as a personal affront against you, or whether you see a young adult who needs help with prioritizing. Your story colors how you see everything. I'm just going to take a break. There's some stuff coming up in the chat here. Yes, so this says, yes, I do tell myself a lot of I can't, I'm not good enough, I should. Oh yeah, we could go for hours on the shoulding of ourselves that we do so much. And one little tip that I heard once from my uncle, he said, instead of saying I should, try saying I could. I could do this. I could do this. So I've instituted that myself, and it works quite well. and someone else just said, I have totally seen the sink full of dishes as a personal attack on me. Absolutely, right? You know that they know they're supposed to do it, or my kids, they're supposed to empty the dishwasher. They know they're supposed to do it. And when they don't do it, I take it personally, like they are literally doing it as an affront against me. That's not what's happening, right? They need help with their priorities. They need help figuring out their stuff. They have a lot going on themselves. So how we talk to ourselves really does color how we see the things that happen to us and around us. So we find what our story seeks. I'm going to repeat that. We find what our story seeks because we want to be right. We don't want to be a liar. So if your story says, I'm always excluded from everything, you're going to see the person who didn't invite you to the party, and your story will be validated. But if your story says, I love myself and I enjoy my own company, you will see that you really didn't want to go to that party anyway. And a night in is an opportunity to do what you love without the interruption from social obligations that you don't really want to do anyway. So let's reflect on your current story. What is your current story creating? Is your current story serving you? How is it holding you back? How is your story keeping you stuck? Maybe in the same pattern, in the same job, in a bad relationship, in a bad situation. Is your story preventing you from living a fulfilling life? From trying new things? From meeting new people? Think about that. So after you identify your thoughts and you reflect on your current story, that was step 2, and note what you'd like to change, it's time to get rewriting. We have to unpack these limited beliefs a little bit. We have to notice that they're actually not true. So you want to take one thought. You can start with just one of them. Okay, you can put some in the comments if you'd like. And we want to figure out how to flip the script on it. We want to turn it into a positive, healthy, helpful thought. You might have a whole list after a day of taking notes of all negative thoughts that you have, and you're like, wow, oh my goodness. So you can choose. You can start with just one, or you can write yourself an entirely new story and choose 10 or 15, maybe you have 100, I don't know, but you can do what works for you, okay? But we're gonna flip the script. We're gonna take one belief at a time, and we're gonna flip the script. Okay, we're gonna turn it from a negative into a positive, healthy, helpful thought. So in order to do this, we need to break it down. You need to look at that thought and you ask yourself, is this true? Is this actually true? And you want to look for evidence to refute the belief. So if the thought is, I never follow through, that's your opportunity to call up a time and say, oh, wait a second. I remember that time when I followed through. Recall the evidence, recall times, right? So you can understand that this, I never follow through, is a limiting belief. It's not a true statement. Sure, there have been times when you haven't followed through, but there have been times when you have followed through, right? And so we want to focus on the positive. We want to focus on the wins, on the achievements, okay? So understand that that's a limiting belief rather than a true statement, okay? I never follow through. Come on, like, that's not true. So accept that you are not your thoughts and embrace the separation of you from your thoughts, which can be hard when you're getting started with this, but your thoughts, they're just there. They're not necessarily you, okay? So you want to write one line of that story. So for example, if you say to yourself, I'm always tired. Does anyone have that story? in their head, I'm always tired. We can change that to say, I am well rested and I take care of my need for sleep. This, of course, assuming that in your future life, you'd prefer to be well rested and caring for yourself. So we can switch that. You want to find something that is important to you to create your future. So I'm always tired becomes I am well rested and I take care of my need for sleep. So the first time when you say this to yourself, you might feel like an imposter. You might say, that's not really true. But you have to keep going. You have to keep working on the repetition. And I want you to think for a minute. I want you to imagine yourself on your couch at night. You're watching Netflix, whatever that your favorite series is, or your movie, right? Maybe you're watching a series and the episode ends, right? And in your head, you have the story, I'm always tired. And you know what happens, that little thing that says next, right? And you just click next episode, right? If your story in your head says, I'm always tired, next, let's watch another episode. I'm always tired anyway, right? Now picture yourself on the couch again with a story in your head that says, I am well rested and I take care of my need for sleep. So you sit down on the couch, you watch an episode, and it gets to the point where it says next episode. If the story in your head says, I am well rested and I take care of my need for sleep, you're much more likely to turn that TV off and say, hey, it's time to get to bed. I don't need to watch another episode tonight. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You choose the behaviors that make the story real. And this is, again, because you don't want to become a liar, right? So if this is the story, you're going to choose the behaviors. And so what you want to do, again, take each of those thoughts or limiting beliefs, work on this to flip it around and create a sentence, a new sentence, an affirmation in the positive sense of how you can create your life, okay? Make sure it represents the life you want to live, by the way, not the life that you think you should live or that anyone else wants for you. Because if this isn't authentically what you want for yourself, it's going to be much more difficult to get any changed behavior out of it. I hope this is making sense. I hope this is resonating with you. You can put comments in the chat if you have any. All right, so as we write ourselves a new story, we're going to get to the next step. We're going to keep writing phrases, sentences about who you want to be, flipping those negatives into a positive. We're going to keep flipping the script, okay? You're going to create a compilation of all these statements that will serve you. Address the negative thoughts that you've noticed and documented. These are statements that represent how you want to live, okay? And that address the negative loop in your head that prevents you from getting there. Everyone's story is entirely different because we are all unique. We all have our unique challenges, our unique story loop in our head, and our unique place of where we want to be in the future. So your story that you're writing is incredibly personal, and it's a great guide for you as you create your life and step into your day every day. So a phrase like, I'm always late, might become, I enjoy showing up on time to my commitments. No one likes me might become, I have a small and wonderful group of great friends who enjoy my company. When we're rewriting into positive statements, we want to use I am language. Okay, what are you today? We don't want to use future language such as I am trying to, I am working on, I will be, because then you're chasing the future. And when you're chasing the future, you're not arriving. You'll never arrive there. So we want to use present tense language. Language such as I am, I enjoy, I care for, I show up for, I honor. You want to make it language that makes you feel warm and fuzzy, like it's, wow, this is an amazing life. I love this life, right? You want it to fill yourself with joy, to fill you with joy and to make you feel very happy. And as you write this new story, you're going to want to read it every day because this is your life you're creating, right? So we want to read it every day. And over time, as you keep telling yourself this, right, it will resonate with you. It will become second nature to you. It doesn't happen overnight, of course, but this is one tool of many that you can use to help create a better future and a more fulfilling life. So as you write up this new story, you want to have it somewhere where you can access it easily. It can be notes in your phone. You may want to handwrite it in your beautiful handwriting script. You might want to create it in the computer. Mine is handwritten, not handwritten. Mine is typed in the computer in a really cool handwritten font that I love. And I print it out. You might want to put it on your bulletin board, have it by your bedside. You might want to have it on the refrigerator, wherever you want. Make it easily accessible so you can find it and you can review it every day, several times a day, if you have time and if you're so inclined. Okay, so this is your story. This is your life. Spend the time to make this document something that's going to make you smile when you look at it. Maybe you want to put stickers on it. Maybe you want to draw butterflies and hearts. I don't know, but do something that makes you love it. Okay, be intentional with how you create this document. And what you want to do is you want to read them daily. Okay, as much as you can is good. If you want to read it in front of the mirror, even better. Okay, it's almost similar to a type of mind control. I mean, you've heard the stories how, and you may be familiar yourself. You know, if you're a child and you grow up in a household where your parents say you're worthless, or you're in high school and you have kids, you're bullied and people say no one likes you over and over. You get these things, you believe it, right? When you hear something enough times, you believe it in your head. So this is what we're doing. We are taking control of the story, right? Why are we going to let everyone else put all, fill that story for us? We're going to write our own story. Okay. Okay, so I'm just taking a deep breath here. Thank you. So someone wrote in the comment, this is also good. I'm going to change all my I should to I could. Yes, it suddenly opens up that I actually have a choice. Exactly. Yes. Should is someone telling you that you have to do that, but could is allowing yourself a choice. That's a really good point. Excellent. So the next step in the process, which is basically the last step, step 6, practice, reflect, and revise. Okay, so this can be a living document. And as you get comfortable with it, you want to update it. You might want to remove parts, you might want to add parts. And I want you to celebrate when you have wins. Okay, acknowledge when you do something that's a positive development. When if your story is I'm always late and you turn it into I enjoy being on time for my commitments, when you're on time, celebrate it. Yes, I did it, right? Notice it, acknowledge it. Okay, review and reflect often. Is it daily? You might want to have an acknowledgement journal, right? Or an accomplishment journal, just a little something where you write down a list of this is what I did today. That's in alignment with my story and who I want to be. And the more we focus on this, the more it's going to become second nature, the better you're going to get at it, right? Before you know it, you'll be on time to everything. And then you can say, hey, I can remove that from my story. That's second nature to me now. I don't have to work on that piece anymore. And we can make room for something else to work on. So it's a living document. And you want to ask yourself, how is this story going? What is true for me right now? Do I need to revise some of this? Okay. I want to let you know it's okay to be human. It's okay to mess up. We all mess up. Okay. But keep going. Keep going. You're not going to be on time to every meeting. You might burn the rolls. You might explode at your kids. Whatever it is, it's going to happen because we are human. Okay. But that is okay. Just keep going forward. You might feel a little bit of imposter syndrome as you start doing this. When you read these things out loud to yourself or read it to yourself every day, you might feel funny, like you're lying, like, well, this isn't really me. I'm not on time to everything. But you just have to push through, because the more that you keep doing that, the more you will begin to believe it, right? Because you are worth it. So if you haven't done mantras or affirmations before, this might feel awkward at first. That's perfectly fine. Keep going, keep moving forward. And if a whole story is too much for you, you can just try focusing on one thing, on one thought that you want to change. You can pick one thing and work on that for a couple weeks. Okay, so those are the steps. So let's just review this again. So step one is identifying the thoughts. What are the thoughts in your head that's on the continuous loop that's holding you back, right? Step two, get clear about the life you want. Get clear about how you want to live. Step three is think about the life you're currently living and how your story is inhibiting you. And then step four is unpacking the limiting beliefs. You want to unpack those. Find evidence that they're not true, that they're just limiting beliefs. They're not actual true statements. And then we want to work on step five, writing yourself a new story. And step six is to practice, reflect, and revise, right? We keep getting better. We keep getting better as we move forward. So I have some time here, and I hope you'll allow me. I'm going to share with you some of my story. I have a clipboard, and I have on it, I call it my compass Bible, and I have my values and my purpose and my why and the feelings I want to feel and my story. And I review this every morning. It takes about 6 minutes to do it all. And on the days when I say I don't have time, I remind myself it only takes 6 minutes, and I'm not going to take 6 minutes. I just want to read a few items from my story, so you can get an idea how I've developed mine, in case that inspires you as you're creating yours. So here we go. I am a motivator, and I inspire others to make positive change in their lives. I am a coach who approaches my work with love and steps into my role as a guide, mentor, and helper. I am a mom who honors my children, guides them, supports them in discovering their joys and their gifts, and who allows them to blossom. I share my positive energy and love with those who need it today. I step into connections to grow, share, and collaborate with others. I am an athlete, and I integrate movement and physical workouts into my day to keep the flow in a positive direction. I remain focused on my daily goals so I can push myself forward. I love who I am, and I love who I am becoming. I am grateful for this day to live my purpose and to be a part of today's energy flow in my current form. I embrace my humanity and use it to its fullest potential. I take in love and energy, and I enjoy every moment of this beautiful gift of life. So thank you for allowing me to share that. And from hearing some of those, you might have a good sense of some of the things that are challenges for me personally. So I have a tendency to withdraw into myself and to keep things inside and not share them. And that's why I share my positive energy and love with those who need it today. And that's why I step into new connections to grow, to share, to collaborate with others, because I know I need to talk myself into doing more than that, more of that, because if I don't, I'm likely to listen to the negative loop in my head that says, no one wants to hear what you have to say, which is something that I carried around with me for a long time. So that's some of my story. Thank you for sharing. That's very personal, and I'm glad to share it with you. Thank you for allowing that. So as you go through and create your story, again, make sure that it's very personal to you and that it's very real to you and what you want. Because if it's not authentic, I mean, you probably, maybe you noticed my tone of voice changed, and I touched my heart a little bit when I was reading, because it's very personal to me and it's very real to me and to the person that I want to be. And I read it and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm this person sounds awesome. So that's what you want to do. You want to read it and be like, this person is amazing, right? So I just want to start to close up. I'm going to give some tips and reminders for you as you begin living your new story, okay? Remember that change takes time. It's taken 2.5 million years for our brain to evolve to where it is, okay? It's an outdated computer. You have to insert the new files, okay? The current story is what was programmed in there. It's designed to keep you safe, right? It's a culmination of everything you've experienced up until this moment, your childhood, your upbringing, your religion, your experiences, your traumas. It's all there, okay? It's going to take more than a few minutes or a few days to change those limiting beliefs. So allow yourself grace. Laugh at yourself. It's okay if you mess up, okay? We are all a work in progress. And it is perfectly fine to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress. So understand, again, that these thoughts are not you. It's a story that your brain tells you. Don't believe everything your brain tells you. So when those beliefs come up, get comfortable questioning them. Ask yourself, is this true? And search for the evidence. Search for the evidence that that limiting belief is not true. Give yourself time, practice, love yourself, enjoy the process. I hope that this talk has resonated with you and that you have some takeaways that you can use to live a more fulfilling life. If you enjoyed this and you want more, please reach out to me. So I am Nancy Sawyer. I am an intentional living coach. I do facilitate the Compass Club, which is a group of women. You can find me at nancybsawyer.com. That's my website. And on Instagram and Facebook, I am Mama of Reinvention. Would love to connect with you there. You can take a look at the Compass Club. Like I said, I stopped in the middle of a sentence. It's a group of women who support each other in growth. We have such amazing conversations there. So many aha moments. So if you want to be a part of that or learn more about that, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about it. Let's see if you have any tips or anything. Oh, someone said that was so helpful. Thank you so much. So as a final comment, I'd like to remind you to keep taking care of you, because the world needs you. The world needs your gifts, and you're the only one who can cultivate them. Okay, so you have to make the decision to work on you so you can share your gifts with the world. The world needs all of us stepping in. So thank you. Go and do with grace. So this has been a Pay It Forward talk from Life Coach University. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for showing up for you today. And please pay it forward as you go throughout your day. Do something nice for someone else. Do whatever you feel, whatever inspires you. Okay. I hope that have something to take away. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Jody Jackson, who's a manifestation coach. At 12 o'clock, she's going to be on Life Coach University with her Pay It Forward 365 mini talk today. So she's great, and she has a wonderful calming presence. And you can go to lifecoachuniversity.com to grab the link and join that today at noon. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day.